Hello, and welcome to Busy, Gritty, Inked, and Witchy, a magical living podcast for the busy witch. I'm Morgan, eclectic witch of more than 20 years, self-proclaimed fluffy bunny, lightworker, and busy witch. Here we will talk all things witchy, including my personal magical tips and tricks, busy witch hacks, and real talk about current metaphysical happenings, which wouldn't be complete without my snark and unique way of looking at the world. So brew some coffee or tea, sit back, and let's do this. Hey everyone, welcome back to Busy, Gritty, Inked, and Witchy, or if this is your first time, welcome. I am Morgan. Today I am talking about how your spirituality is your own. And this is something that has really come up for me over and over and over again in the last few weeks especially. And so I really feel like it's something that I want to talk about and an aspect of my practice that I want to share with you all. So I've really been diving down into my spiritual practice for the last few months. I've been getting to know my deities again. I have been exploring new paths within the Avalonian tradition, which is the path that I walk, or my belief path. And for me personally, getting back in touch with my spiritual self has really helped me overall with my mental health and my emotional health. That is because spirituality is such a big part of who I am and who I have been for 20 years now. So I want to definitely take a second to differentiate between my witchcraft practice and my spirituality practice. To me, these are two different things, but they do come together all the time on a regular basis. So witchcraft is a practice. It is a craft. It is a set of skills. It is a practice that you do, and that can be incorporated with any belief system. And that is why witchcraft itself does not have deities. It may have, depending on whether you're Wiccan or if you're just a witch, there might be guidelines that you can follow. But for the most part, witchcraft is a practice that you can incorporate with any spiritual belief system. Okay? So for me, I am a witch, and I am really great on the witchcraft side of who I am spiritually. Then there's my spiritual belief path, which is the Avalonian tradition. It is Celtic based, although I do work with some Welsh deities as well. And it's heavily based on Arthurian legend. And so that is the part that I've really felt disconnected from. And so I made it a point this year to really reconnect with that side of myself. And I have been doing a fucking phenomenal job at that, if I do say so myself. So today's talk is about my spirituality and your spirituality and how your spirituality is your own. Your beliefs are your own. Always, always, always hold that. Okay, what works for you spiritually or magically may not work for someone else. Something that you read or hear or decide that you want to undertake because you saw it on a video or you heard it in a podcast, that may have worked for another person, but it may not work for you. That does not make you any less of a spiritual person or any less of a witch if something doesn't work. Okay, spirituality is about exploring, and it is about seeing what fits you. So you have to try so many different things. And some of them are going to work, and some of them are not going to work. And some of them you're going to hear, and you're going to be like, that sounds fucking amazing. I'm going to try it. And some things you're going to hear, and you're going to be like, oh, no, that does not feel right for me. That does not make you a better witch. It does not make the other person a better witch, or more of a witch, or less of a witch, or more of a spiritual person, or less of a spiritual person. It's not a competition. Spirituality is not a competition. That is the beauty, especially of paganism and witchcraft and earth-centered religions. And although I hate the word religion when it comes to our stuff, because I feel like we are more spiritual people, pagans are more spiritual and less religious. We have less rules, we have less doctrines, we have less, you have to do this a certain way or else you're going to go to hell. You know what I mean? So To me, that's the beauty of paganism and witchcraft, is that there are so many different branches and there's so much to learn. There's so many different viewpoints, and you can take what feels right and you can throw out what doesn't feel right. And therefore, when it comes down to it, every single person believes and practices and worships in their own way, 100%. I think I can say with absolute certainty that no two people in the entire world practice their spirituality the same way, especially when it comes to pagans and witches. I don't think that any two people, you can even be part of a coven, and you can learn the exact same information from the exact same people as your coven members. And you're still going to put your own flair to it. You're still going to sprinkle your own personality into it. And there's going to be things that, like, maybe you spend a little bit longer on the candle magic section of a spell, but everyone who learned exactly the same things you did spend more time on the meditating part of it. That is the beauty of paganism and witchcraft and being a spiritual being, is that your spirituality and your beliefs and your practices are 100% your own. So this podcast is based on my viewpoints, my experiences, and my journey of the last over 20 years of my life. What works for me may not work for you. On this podcast, I share my tips. I share with you all my knowledge. I share with you my viewpoints, but they are mine when it boils down to it. I am not the end-all be-all of magical knowledge. Yes, I get very passionate. If you have listened to all of my podcast episodes or you follow me on social media, there are a few subjects I am very passionate about. For example, it is my belief that you should not release at the full moon. The full moon, to me, and from my experience, is a time for you allow the full moon to illuminate things in your life, but you release and let go at the waning moon. That does not mean that I am telling you that my way is the only way to do shit. Okay. And yes, I get very passionate. I have done past podcast episodes about moon magic. I have done past podcast episodes or social media posts about proper safety when doing candle magic. But I'm very passionate about these. When I get very passionate, I do get worked up. I get emotional. My Southern sometimes comes out. But you can take what I say at any point and throw it out the window if it doesn't feel right to you. If you have been releasing at the full moon for 20 years and that's what that works for you, then that is amazing. And that's what makes you and I different. And that's the beauty of paganism. Okay? So your spirituality is your own. And as you're going through and you're absorbing things and you're learning and you're experimenting, you may find that some of the tips you hear on this podcast are great and you fit them into your magical practice. You may find that some of the things I say are like, just do not resonate with you. And that is beautiful. It is beautiful either way. Okay. I am just simply one more resource on the vast internet of everyone's opinions and everyone's practices and everyone's viewpoints. I am one of them. So you can take what I say and you can try it. If it works, that is amazing. If it doesn't work, that's amazing too. Now you know that that doesn't work for you. All right. So my advice for beginners and for seasoned witches alike, both of you, everyone, never stop learning new things. Listen when presented with new info, even if it contradicts what you do now or what you've done for 20 or 30 years. Just listen, because somewhere there might be one little nugget that applies to you and that you're like, man, I've never thought of it that way. Okay, I can see that. But never stop learning. Never stop being open to change, because that's what makes your spirituality yours. Are you the same person that you were a month ago, a year ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago? You're not. I can guarantee it that you are not the same person that you were 10 or 20 years ago. I can 100% guarantee it. So why would your spirituality be the same? If you are evolving, your spirituality also evolves with you, especially if you're a witch and if you're listening to podcasts like this. It is a beautiful thing to continue to learn, no matter if you're a beginner or if you're a seasoned witch. Always learn and always stay open to your spirituality evolving and changing with you. Okay? I want to end today's episode with a story of something I'm going through right now. So back in January, I believe, I joined the Avalon Mystery School, which is one of the many institutions online where you can learn more about the Avalonian tradition or Avalon or anything. I researched a bunch of them and I chose the Avalon Mystery School. So every about month or so, I think the last lesson took me about 2 months, I get a new lesson, and it's all self-paced, but it involves learning things spiritually, like learning the background of Avalon, different aspects of it, and then spiritually things to work on, and then practically things to work on, like in my practice. And I can remember getting a lesson about how to cast a circle. And I'm like, I've been a witch for 20 years. I know how to cast a circle. Maybe I should skip this because that's what got me through high school. If I knew it, I skipped it or I skimmed it and, jotted down some notes and went on. Anyway, so I sat there for a second and I said, no. This is my spirituality. So I'm only shorting myself by skipping this. And I'm here to learn. I'm here to learn this aspect or this viewpoint of Avalon and its practices. So I'm going to give it 100%. And so I read the lesson on casting a circle, and it was very different than anything I've done for the last 20 years. And I said, okay, well, it came time for me to do it, to, go into my sacred space and cast this circle the way that I learned. And it was amazing. I immediately felt the difference in my sacred space and the energy that it raised within my space for a spell or a ritual. And I've been doing it ever since. And that was probably back in February, I think I learned that. So here I am. I do a daily devotion now to my deities. I just burn some incense every morning, set my intentions for the day. I've really made my spirituality a focus. But when I go to do more involved meditations or spells or rituals, or I just want to meet with my goddesses of Avalon, I cast this circle the way that I was taught in this lesson, and it is an absolutely beautiful thing. There were also some things that I learned in that first lesson about grounding and protection, which I tried, and I was just more comfortable doing things similarly, but it's the way that I've done for 20 years. So again, even at this age, I've been a walker of the Avalonian tradition for 20 years now, over 20 years. But I'm rededicating myself to my path, and I'm open to learning, and I'm open to trying new things, and I'm trying to deepen that practice within myself. And I've learned some new things, and I also have learned new things that then I've been like, that didn't quite feel right. I'm going to still do what I do. So therefore, it's been beautiful. It has been an amazing journey so far. Like I said at the beginning, it has overall helped my mental and emotional health. as well as my productivity at work. I just seem to be a little bit more focused, a little bit more relaxed. But that is, again, because my spirituality is such a big part of who I am. So therefore, me nurturing my spirituality improves all aspects of my life. It just kind of ripples out because my spirituality is so important to me. I hope you all enjoyed this today. I have a short one for you, but I hope that there was some nuggets in there of information that resonated with you. I do want to take a second to let you all know that if you have been a longtime listener, or if you just found me and you're kind of skipping around, and any of my podcast episodes have ever upset you or offended you, I honestly, from the bottom of my heart, apologize. That is never my intention. And again, this podcast is just my viewpoints. And while I do get very passionate and very emotional on some subjects, this podcast is just another opinion, another viewpoint in the vast world of viewpoints. So I ask that you take what I say on this podcast. If it resonates with you, hold it close. If it doesn't, dismiss it and move on to the next podcast episode, or, to the next bit of information I give to see if that works or doesn't work for you. Okay? I hope you all enjoyed this. I do want to let you know that I do have an online coven that I am the magical mentor of. That's what they call me, and I absolutely love it. It is called the Inked Spirit Coven. And every month we work with the magical energy of the year. They get a workbook at the beginning of the month. And so coming up here for the month of May, we're working on flower magic, which I know you're like, okay, well, that's kind of like flower magic. No. We are going into flower essences. We are going into how flowers are used magically. We are going in a little bit to gardening. It is going to be a really fun month. I teach one class on Zoom live, and then we have a workshop every month that's live on Zoom. And then we have a great Facebook group full of witches who are just starting out, all the way to witches who've been practicing for 30 years. They come together, support one another. We have daily discussion questions, weekly magical practices, all kinds of fun stuff. So if you would also like to deepen your connection to your spirituality, learn some things along the way, have an amazing group of witches support you, then I would love to have you come join me. You can head to inkedspirit.com, learn more, and join there. I want to thank you all so much for listening, for giving me a platform to share my knowledge and my journey, and I will see you all again soon. Bye.